So a pretty hot topic right now is, will Final Fantasy XVI come out this year? Final Fantasy XVI is very, very far into development, with it closing in on 6 full years. This game started development around a month or two before 15 came out. So it has been a very, very long time. And we recently got that delayed by almost half a year by COVID thing. And then the insider on Twitter said that when they were originally announced, Forspoken and FF16 were planned to come out at the very end of 2021. So the question on everybody's lips is, we're getting more news in spring. Will this game come out this year? And in my personal opinion, from what I know of the development cycle and everything like that, I'm going to say probably at the in either Q3 or Q4 of this year. I would say very end, but I think it's likely for Q3. Because we know what Naoki Yoshida said in the past when he said, I don't like to string people along with little bits of information. Isn't it better if the next time you see the game, you can play it right after? Which I interpret as, you can pre-order it, you get a release date that is pretty soon, and maybe even a demo, but I can't say for sure on the demo. I love it, but you know. So, do I think that it's coming this year? Absolutely, because this time last year, Yoshida said that, again, he wants to show it pretty close to its release. He doesn't want it to be a thing where, like how Kingdom Hearts would, okay, it made its announcement trailer, then it popped up a year later with a gameplay trailer. Then it popped up 2 years later with another one. Then 2 years later, it had a whole bunch of publicity before release. He doesn't want that for 16, right? KH3 had so many trailers when it was so far out of release. I mean, when they made that first announcement trailer, they were still in the concept stage for KH3. They just made that cutscene for the trailer to say, this is now in development, it's coming eventually. It was announced way too early. They did the same exact thing with Final Fantasy VII Remake, which that was an entirely different can of worms. Development of 7 Remake was outsourced to CyberConnect 2, and then they didn't like how CyberConnect 2 was handling it, so they took it back in-house. It's a very different thing. I'll need to make a separate video on 7 Remake Part 2 and stuff I want for that, which will come relatively soon, because I do want to do one of those, and how I think it can improve the gameplay. So, with 16, what makes me think that this game is coming out this year? Well, the big thing is what Yoshida himself has been saying and how far into development it is. Because while we haven't gotten a trailer in like a year and a half at this point, we have been getting updates on the game, right? A lot of people ask in interviews, they ask Yoshida, well, how's 16 going? Because if you don't know, for like the past 3 or 4 Famitsu issues in a row, maybe even longer than that, 16 has been Japan's most anticipated game, and it's definitely my most anticipated game. I'm very much looking forward to it as a die-hard Final Fantasy fan. But if we just run through all of the updates we've been given from him, let's go with when he was asked in May of last year, would this be at the Tokyo Game Show? And he said, I understand the company wants us to show it then because it will have been over a year since it was shown, but I don't want to string people along with little bits of information. Isn't it best if the next time you see it, you get to play it right after? And he was talking about how he don't know if they can make the Tokyo Game Show deadline. This lines up with, forget my voice there, Jesus. This lines up with what he said about how the game's development has been delayed by by nearly half a year now, right? So it was planned to come out at the end, but even at this time, they knew things are not going to plan, right? So he got asked a couple more times leading up to Tokyo Game Show, and then it was either right after or in the middle of Tokyo Game Show, he got asked by someone from Famitsu, how's the game doing? And he said, no, it was Hironobu Sakaguchi, I think his name is. I'm not quite sure, okay? It's one of the main creators of Final Fantasy, I believe. And, you know, he asked, could I write a side quest? How far is the game along? And, you know, I've made a couple videos about these. I made one about it being open world, and he even asked about that. I'll put that video in the top right here. And then he asked, and then when he was asking about a side quest, Yoshida said, well, you know, we've already written all the main ones, we're only working on the minor side quests now. And what's his face? Sakaguchi said, well, that's fine, I'm willing to write one of them at least, just let me do whatever. And, you know, they joked about that for a little bit. But the fact that that the story is done, according to him, the story is done, the major side quests were done, the models were done, the English voice work is definitely done by now. It was almost done in like May of last year. For those who don't know, they're not prioritizing Japanese voice for this. They're prioritizing Old English. That's why everybody sounds British and why the English voice acting actually sounds good. It's because they're prioritizing that over Japanese. And I think it fits the theme of the game very well. But, so we know that's done. We know that the story is done, or the campaign rather. We know that the models are done, and we know that the major side quests were done about 3 months ago. Well, 3 months later, what do we have here? I'm guaranteeing that those minor side quests were done probably around November. Start of November, they probably wrapped up the minor side quests, if I had to guess. And then I'm pretty sure they've been in the polishing phase ever since. And we recently got that update from Naoki Yoshida about 10 days ago, something like that. About 2 weeks ago, actually, that, you know, things aren't going quite as planned. COVID-19 has led to complete cancellations and asset deliveries, which is a big hindrance. Because assets take a lot of time to make, right? And I don't know what engine 16 is running on. I might do another video on that, because it could be Unreal, but it also could be what 14 uses, which is a very, 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 very customized Luminous. And it's Luminous in air quotes. It's practically not even a Luminous Engine anymore, right? Because for those who don't know, back when A Realm Reborn started its development, the groundwork, I hate living in the South, those stupid trucks, dude, but the groundwork for Luminous Engine for 15 had been laid, and the Realm Reborn crew pretty much said, alright, Crystal Tools sucks. We're going to take the groundwork of Luminous, what you have already, we're going to take that, we're going to make something out of it we can use for this MMO, and then we'll use that. That's more or less what the Realm Reborn crew did. And it worked out great, you know. Realm Reborn still uses that engine for stuff. And it's entirely possible that this game does that too. I don't know what the engine is, because again, it's so different from Luminous at this point that you can't even really call it Luminous Engine. But it's definitely not going to be like, and I've seen a couple of questions of, oh, is it Crystal Tools? Are they bringing that back? 0% chance they are ever using Crystal Tools again. No way. I refuse to believe that. I don't know if it's Unreal or not. I really don't know. It definitely could be Unreal. I'm not gonna say it's not. But I think it using 14's engine is probably the most likely thing. They probably beefed up 14's engine a little bit more to make this game. Which this game started development around when, was it Heaven's Ward or Stormblood came out? When one of those two came out. This game started development around then. I believe the Heaven's Ward team and Realm Reborn crew are developing this game. So I believe it started development a little after Heaven's Ward. So, that being said, that's a really good development team, and I'm really glad that 16's got such a good crew working on it. But I'm fairly confident they just went ahead and used an engine they're familiar with, and they used the 14 engine, which is fine, right? Nothing wrong with that at all, because I know a lot of people complain about the graphics, but I think that it looks fine, right? Like, it doesn't look super next gen or anything, but it looks fine. But back on topic, because I got super off topic talking about the engine. I'll have to make a separate video about that. This game is almost certainly going to come out late next year. I guess this year, yeah. 2022 still hasn't set in, you know. It feels like just yesterday. It was February 2019 or 2020, February 2020. You know, before COVID, and now we're entering year 3 of 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And let me not get political, it's too sad. But I'm pretty sure that this game is on track for a Q3, Q4 release. I've seen people saying, oh, but the PS5 trailer thing had a Valistia June 16th thing. I'm going to go with probably not. I really am just going to go with probably not on that one. Because let's say they show this in April, right? I think April's a really good time to show this. There isn't really anything coming out in April. April is a dead month, one of the few dead months in the early half of the year. If they're going to show this, April is the best time to do it. So let's say they show it then, and they're not going to give a release date for, okay, yeah, this is coming out, let's see, a little under 2 months from now. No way. The game would have to go gold like a week after the trailer comes out, and that's not happening. I'm pretty sure they're going to show this game in April or June, and they're going to give its release date for anywhere from August to the end of the year is fair game. If I had to place my bet, I would say September, October, or November. Those are your months to watch. It could come out in December. It could come out in like very early 2023. Do I think that'll happen? Probably not. I'm going to nail it down that it's coming in 2022. But I would say that September, October, and November are your months to watch. More so September. I think September is a really good month for this game to come out. It'd come out a full 2 years after its announcement, which, compared to other Square games, that's not real bad. Which, I want to kind of touch on that for a minute. I hate this idea that Square Enix can't finish a game, because, they had a couple oopsies, right? Versus 13 is very much a product of Square Enix's defiance in the 2000s. I have a video coming up about all that. Big scripted video and everything. Waiting for my new mic to come in to record it. Big video going over why Final Fantasy 15 came out the way it did. And I have some other stuff coming too. But, 15 is very much a different case. Versus 13 got completely screwed over in its development. And then 15 had maybe 2.5 years of development. 2.5 to 3 years. And then you have Kingdom Hearts 3, which was announced way too early, right? Kingdom Hearts 3's development cycle wasn't much longer than most AAA games' development cycles, but it feels like it was because it was announced so early. It was announced as soon as it started. This is the same exact problem they ran into with 7 Remake. And 7 Remake was another game that had maybe 3.5 years of development because, CC2 didn't like the one, so they took it back from them in was it 2017? It was early 2017 they took it in-house. And sorry, I forgot what I was saying there for a second. Oh yeah, and that was another game that was announced way too early, right? And the game looked pretty far along, kind of, in CC2's gameplay trailer for it. And that's because CC2 works fast. If you don't know anything about CyberConnect 2, they work very, very fast. And that sometimes does bite them, because you run into moments like, 7 Remake wasn't going like they wanted, so they took it in-house. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is a mess, so it's because it felt rushed, it needed more time. Naruto Storm 4 is a mess, it felt rushed, it needed more time, right? But that's kind of the downfall of CC2, is that, they make good games if they don't rush it, but they work so fast that they do often feel like they're rushing it, right? But I don't know. I just wanted to touch on that because Square Enix has this really bad track record since the merger that they can't finish a game. And that is very much just because of the terrible stuff that went on during the PS3 generation, spilling over into the PS4 generation. But I would say they've got it fixed now, right? I would say now they've definitely got a lot of the stuff that kind of plagued them back then sorted out. Not everything, of course. Some stuff still doesn't just work out as planned, but that's another thing of COVID. I think once COVID is settled down, and by settled down I mean enough people catch it where they have just a natural antibody or people get vaccinated more, you're going to see a very different Square Enix, because you will see Square Enix that has finally figured out what to do in this generation, and one that isn't hindered by COVID any longer, right? I think at that point you're going to see a very, very different Square Enix. But yeah. I know I ranted about a lot of other stuff in this episode, but it's because there's a lot I wanted to touch on, and I don't think some of it could fill a full video. But yeah, that's just what I think about if Final Fantasy 16 were released this year. I think yes. Like I said, September, October, November, I would say those are your months to watch. That's what I think about, what engine the game is using, why, people say Square Enix takes forever to release games. And I would say that Square Enix games they take a while, but they're sometimes kind of worth it. Like 7 Remake, I thought was definitely worth it. 15 had plenty of its issues, but 15's long development cycle got people's hopes up way too high, right? I didn't pick up 15 until I saw a trailer for it like a month before. I saw one trailer for FF15 like a month before, so I didn't get too hyped. And I bought the game and loved it, right? And looking back at the day one version of the game is a bit of a mess, but and Kingdom Hearts 3, I know a lot of people don't like Kingdom Hearts 3, and Kingdom Hearts 2 is definitely better, but I thought Kingdom Hearts 3 was fine. So I think that a lot of these games end up being worth it. But I don't know, that's just me. Square Enix is a very dedicated group of haters, but I mean, hey, I hate Naughty Dog, right? So, whatever does it for you, right? Like, I love a lot of Square Enix's games, but I think Naughty Dog is a C+ developer. That's just me. I think Uncharted is average. I think The Last of Us 2 is average. I think they're a one-hit wonder with The Last of Us 1, right? But I don't know, that's just me. I know it's a bit of a take, but what isn't a take these days? But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you think the game is coming out this year. If you think that the game is going to take a little longer, do you think it won't come out until 2023? What engine do you think the game is running on? I know a decent bit about this sort of thing, but not a ton. So if there's anybody who knows more about that, what engine would you guess that the game is running on? Again, I'm going to stick with Realm Reborn's engine, just because I think it's what that team is very familiar with, and I think they could very easily repurpose that to make this kind of a game. But yeah. Again, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Do you think that I'm wrong about Square Enix taking too long to release stuff? Again, I'm going to make a big video going over pretty much everything that went on from the moment Fabula Nova Crystallis was announced to 15 coming out. So yeah. Again, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe. I'd appreciate that. Mike's coming in next week. Videos, or this week actually, because it's Sunday now. Big videos coming up, trying to do more content, But yeah, my name is Carmen, but I go by Ellism on YouTube. And yeah, y'all take it easy.